How's it going, guys? Terry Flanagan is scheduled to be defending his WBO lightweight title against a contender from Russia, Petr Petrov. I've been quite surprised by the reaction and the comments that I've been seeing about this fight. A lot of comments that I've been seeing on social media and whatnot is that this is a fairly decent fight and a fairly decent title defense for Flanagan. And a lot of people seem to think that it's going to be a difficult fight and a competitive fight. I disagree, and I disagree big. I like Terry Flanagan in this fight, and I like him big in this fight. I would even go so far as to say that this fight is a mismatch. I'm taking Terry Flanagan to win this fight, and I will be surprised if he doesn't get the stoppage here. Let's talk about why. For those of you who aren't familiar with Petr Petrov, he's a guy from Russia. He's very, very aggressive in the ring. I believe he resides in Spain, and he's fought the majority of his career in Spain, but he has travelled around a bit. He's fought in Argentina and whatnot. I believe he's fought in America before. The most noteworthy opponent on his resume is Marcus Maidana, and I remember seeing that fight several years ago, and Maidana just completely swatted this guy in 4 rounds. It was easy. He just completely dominated him and took him out with ease. It wasn't even competitive at all. And that was a case of two heavy-handed pressure fighters going up against one another, but one guy just being so much more elite than the other. And since that fight, he hasn't really fought anybody, Petr Petrov. If you look at a lot of the guys he's been fighting, a lot of them have just been, journeymen or, guys with losing records. He did fight a guy that was 16-0, and he lost that fight by decision. That fight was over in Montenegro. But even in his most recent fights that I've been watching, he makes a lot of clumsy mistakes. Now, he's a come-forward fighter. He attacks the body, looks to trap his opponents on the ropes and looks to take them out, throws a lot of hooks and uppercuts. He's a classic come-forward, tough Russian pressure fighter. And, he is a fairly heavy-handed guy, but to be honest, guys, he gets hit a lot in the ring, and I can see a smart counter-puncher like Terry Flanagan, particularly a southpaw, which is what Terry Flanagan is. I can see him taking this guy out in style. I really can, because this guy's going to be walking onto those left uppercuts, that overhand left that Terry Flanagan throws at. If this guy falls short with any of his punches at all, Terry Flanagan's going to counter him, and he's going to hurt him badly. And I've seen this guy have opponents up on the ropes, and I just see it as a fight fan who's watched boxing over the years. I see him making a lot of mistakes that a world-class counterpuncher would capitalize on. But unfortunately, the guys he's been fighting recently, they just haven't been capitalizing on the mistakes that he makes. But to me, he's just such a rudimentary fighter, so one-dimensional. Like I said, Marcus Maidana took the guy out in 4 rounds, and that was several years ago. And as I said, since then, his competition hasn't been great. He's fought a lot of obscure opponents, and again, he's been looking pretty rudimentary against those guys. So to be honest, I don't really see this as a competitive fight. I don't see it as much of a test for Terry Flanagan. I mean, Diego Magdaleno, in my opinion, was a far more efficient fighter than this guy. And he was a pressure fighter, but he was also a southpaw, so that's a little bit different. And Terry Flanagan, I was actually at that fight, and Terry Flanagan took that guy out in 3 rounds it was. So yeah, I really don't see this as a competitive one. I think this is just a quick prediction, because I think Flanagan is going to take this guy apart. While this guy's coming forward, trying to go to the body, trying to wind up on them hooks, I can see Terry Flanagan just taking a step back and just countering. The fight's going to be in Manchester, in Terry Flanagan's hometown, so he's going to have the crowd on his side. So yeah, I just see this one being a rudimentary title defense, and I see Terry Flanagan winning by a late stoppage. Now, I know that Terry Flanagan didn't look that impressive in his last fight against Orlando Cruz. He got the stoppage in that one, but really he should have blown Orlando Cruz away, because let's be real, Orlando Cruz is a fucking bum. He's a joke. But I felt that Terry Flanagan, in my opinion, he was carrying that guy. Honestly, I felt he could have got Orlando Cruz out of there in a couple of rounds if he wanted to, but for whatever reason, he just really wasn't stepping on the gas. So, but in this fight, I expect him to get the stoppage. I do, and I expect it to be in the later rounds, because I think this guy, even though he's a rudimentary fighter, even though he gets hit, he is fairly tough and he's got a lot of heart.